reason why we fought so hard to get in the playoffs is because we feel like we're capable of doing, anything.
I'm here for one goal and one goal only, and that's to win a championship.
Get your popcorn ready. I might need to make a spread for this one, except sadly I'll be by myself. Richard Jefferson, what's going on? We got a big game tonight. You know it. It's the Lakers, Blazers, Dame, LeBron, Stephen A. Talk to me. Lakers sweep or Blazers win? What's the more likely outcome here?
Well, I would pick the Blazers to win before I pick the Lakers to sweep them. I think the Lakers are going to win this series, but if I have to answer the direct question between the two greatest possibilities, I would pick the Blazers to win before I see a Lakers sweep based on what I've seen from the Lakers since they have arrived in this bubble. They are having trouble scoring the basketball. They are having trouble hitting perimeter shots. And against this Blazers, with this offensive juggernaut that they are, led by Damian Lillard, the MVP of the bubble that was averaging about 37. Look at C.J. McCollum, how he's dropped about 29 over the last 2 games, and the way that he's been balling. Carmelo Anthony hitting big shots. And I can't say enough about the marksman that Gary Trent has become. This brother can shoot the basketball. And so when I look at it from that perspective and I see the offensive gifts that Nurkic brings to the table as well. This team can score on anybody. You're going to have to outscore them to beat them. You're not going to contain them and prevent them from putting the ball in the hole. And because of that reality, combined with the way that the Lakers have been shooting the basketball and been struggling to shoot the basketball, I'm sorry, I'm not going to assume that this is a team, a Blazer squad that's going to get swept, particularly since the last time we saw them in the playoffs, they had gotten swept by a Kevin Durant-less Golden State Warriors team led by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I don't see that happening 2 years in a row or back-to-back series. You go from the Western Conference to getting swept again in the first round. I don't see that happening to Dame Dollar. I don't see that happening to CJ, and certainly not even Melo as well, who has had a resurgence and has reminded us that he had no business being out of this league for as long as he was out of this league. You can't find a roster spot. He's not a top 15 player on a roster in the NBA. Just blasphemy, okay? So all of that has been thrown out to the wayside. Now it's about Portland. Again, I think they'll lose this series, but I could see it going 7 games, may go 6, but I'm predicting 7. But being swept, I think the Lakers would lose this series before the Blazers would be swept.
Well, first of all, about Carmelo, it's not just that what he's shown that's remarkable. It's not just that he's one of the 15. He's one of the 5. He's a legit starting player on a very good team. But and as hard as it is for me to imagine Damian Lillard at this moment in time on any team you put him on, let alone a team with some talent like Portland, on any team, being swept right now, is he just not the getting swept type of dude right now? It'd be even harder for me to imagine the Lakers losing this series. Because when you look at Portland, they're giving up in the last 4, 5, 6 games, 122, 130. It's always 120 or 130-something points. And they're winning some of those games. They're also losing some of them. And they're winning by a possession or 2. And they're winning because the other team's best player has a good enough look and happens to miss the shot. Or else, and by the way, that was with everything on the line and nothing was on the line for the Nets. They are playing bad defense. And it's hard for me to imagine a team playing defense as bad as the Blazers are playing, beating a Lakers team led by LeBron James with another top half-dozen player in the world on his team. When has ever a top-seeded team in any conference with 2 legitimate MVP contenders on the same team lost in the first round to a team with a bad defense? It ain't going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Now, then get a little deeper into it. McCollum is, talk about, I'll break my back for this team. He's playing with a broken back, and he's at times playing well, but how long is that going to last given his physical condition? On the flip side, look, the Lakers are a little bit three-point challenged, but Danny Green in a playoff series, he's had good series, he's had bad series, but if you're going to tell me, okay, who you got playing at least 25 minutes at the 2? Who's your 3 and D guy? Danny Green, check. You don't have to worry about that. That's a check in the box. There's a reason that guy, when he's in San Antonio, is part of that winning culture and always in the playoffs. And then he goes to Toronto and the same thing, and they win a championship. He's kind of exactly what you're looking for as a 3-and-D guy as part of your starting five on a championship caliber team. That's all he's been his entire career, even if he's a little bit in decline. I still like my chances with him. So you're right, Stephen A. Both outcomes are unlikely. I think the least likely is the Lakers losing the series.
Wow, that's a lot to digest because I really just don't feel that either, like you said, neither of these are reality. I think everyone agrees, and that's why it's also a great question. But Stephen A., to your point, you said that it's hard for you to believe that a Blazers could get swept back-to-back years after what happened against the Golden State Warriors. But don't forget, they were up 17, at least 17 in 3 of those games. In all 3 of those games, they lost. So for me, I understand that the Portland Trailblazers have all the talent. They got Dame. CJ's playing well. They got Nurkic back. They got Zach Collins. Carmelo's playing at an all-time high. But ultimately, I feel like it is more likely that the Lakers will sweep them. And it's not because the Lakers are dominant. The Lakers are not playing great basketball either. But the Portland Trailblazers have been playing playoff basketball for the last 2 weeks, and they are eking through, barely winning. And again, when I say barely winning, I mean they are doing just enough to get there against subpar teams, not teams to the same caliber as the Los Angeles Lakers. So in my opinion, I think it's more likely that the Lakers sweep than the Portland Trailblazers win this series. And it's mainly because if you look at the path that they have gone, that is my opinion. And not the reason why I believe that is because I just don't feel like the Portland Trailblazers have been playing the type of basketball. And we can go from the conference finals all season up until now. They have done just enough to get here, which is a compliment to them because they've been through a lot. But I think it is more likely that the Lakers would sweep than the Portland Trailblazers win this series.
Well, let me tell you why I specifically disagree with you even more so than Max. And here's the reason why, Richard, is because you lost to the team before that. I think you did. I know you beat them as well because you was on the championship Cleveland Cavaliers team. But you know what it's like playing against those Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I don't give a damn if somebody came and sprinkled divine water on the Los Angeles Lakers. They will never be able to shoot like that. And so that's why the Portland Trailblazers lost, despite having 17-point leads last year in the playoffs. Because when you going up against Steph and Klay, the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball, who will return next year and remind us of that when they're in the conference finals, at the very least, because of their ability to shoot the basketball. We don't have to worry about that. Listen, we know that LeBron James can score at will. We know that Anthony Davis, especially against this Portland defense, which is horrid, we get that. But they can't shoot like you can leave LeBron and AD open all day, y'all. They will never shoot like those dudes. That's the difference.
The reason that you're talking about something, I take away something very different. Obviously, Steph and Klay powered that team, and then later KD. But who won MVP of the finals the first time they beat the Cavs? Iguodala. Why? The defense he played on LeBron.
No, we just talked about last year, Max.
Who was going to win it? Okay, I'm going back to 16 now. Who was going to win it when the Cavs came back on him? Draymond Green. Not only scoring, but also his overall play and defense. The Portland Trailblazers with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum and Carmelo, they can shoot it, they can score it, but unlike the Warriors, where is the defensive guy or guys? Where's the defensive concept even? They just play score, and then late in the game, Damian Lillard will come up with a timely pick and hit a big shot, and they'll beat you by a possession. Very different kind of animal. LeBron James, who never doesn't make the finals when he's healthy, right? LeBron James ain't taken another top 5 player in the world in his prime in AD and losing to an 8 seed. That is the least likely scenario.
Well, I'm not saying, okay, I got you.
Look, wait, Max, I agree with you. But to your point, Stephen A., I understand, but they did not have Kevin Durant when they were up and they had those leads. They did not have him. So really, it was tit for tat. And the Portland Trailblazers, even though they didn't have Nurkic, they were still a very good team. But if we look at it from those games, from those 4 games, fast forward to how they played all season long, and they had their studs healthy. How they played all season long. Then what they had to do to get into the postseason, they have not played good basketball for well over a year, or at least not to their capability. That's why it is more likely that the Lakers would sweep than for them to beat the Lakers.
RJ, I don't blame you for holding Portland accountable because, as I said, their defense is horrid. But you're listening to somebody right now who believes without Kevin Durant, Golden State still wins the chip last year if Klay Thompson doesn't get hurt. Because this is the greatest shooting backcourt mankind has ever seen. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. So to me, that's an aberration. And I'm going to repeat it again to end this segment.